Hey, what's up, everybody? And I wanted to do a late Tafo talk on what I observed from Smash Summit 2, mainly from a player standpoint. I'll do a separate video on what I felt about the event. Maybe it'll be more of a vlog style. First and foremost, I'm going to be focusing on singles bracket and not so much the other events. And what can we say? I think the biggest standout here was honestly King's performance at this tournament. Cleanly won his first round bracket. I forget who he plays against, beats Pleb 3-0, and he beats Armada 3-0. And he does it as Marth, and honestly, aside from Armada and maybe PPMD last year at Apex, aside from Hungrybox, I apologize, and PPMD last year in the second set of Grand Finals at Apex, Armada rarely gets 3-0'd, and so that was a very impressive performance. I was really surprised. I think that if everybody bet and said, I think King's going to win straight up, not even a 3-0, they would have probably not taken that bet unless there were some betting odds involved. So, phenomenal performance by him. And it kind of shows some hope, right, that he can do it, that he's capable. You know, I'm still skeptical because I think Smash Summit 2 provides the best possible environment for King. And the reason why I say that is because even before the tournament starts, King does not have to play other games. He can just focus on playing high-level play. He doesn't have to play pools of any events, and he can just do whatever he wants. So even before he played Armada, I can safely say that he's probably played at least 30 hours, given that we were there on Wednesday for orientation on Thursday and Friday, and also Saturday. And he was playing against MacD for a lot of the weekend. He was, in shape. And this is something we rarely get to see because King will say himself that he doesn't really get to play or practice at home. Or in fact, I don't know why, but he just doesn't do it. He focuses on Smash 4, he focuses on other games. And so, really ideal environment for King. I'm not joning for Armada by any ways, but I just think that this is a type of environment that King thrives in. And most importantly, I also think that there was a conversation that Crimson Blur had the night before with King, where they were discussing certain things about the Peach matchup mistakes and going over previous encounters of Marth Peach. They talked for 4 hours the night before, and this really brings up my other point that I think coaching is really important. I'm not saying whether or not we should ban it. And so let me actually refine that definition. I think coaching in the sense of not having a person next to you to kind of prep you like a boxing coach would, but more like the analyst that goes before the tournament and gives you advice and gives you helpful hints and tells you what you're doing wrong and how you can change your play to improve. Because a lot of players, even though we live in this era where we feel everything is optimal, it really isn't. I think certain movement techniques are optimal, but when I think of matchup decisions and zoning and optimizing what a person can do in certain options, I think we're very far from that as a community, to be perfectly honest. And King has played this matchup for at least a decade, since 06, 07 when he started Marth, and still there's a lot he can learn. So coaching I think can only bolster the level of play. It's almost like a mini steroid. I'm not going to say that King didn't play. King still has to play out the match. He still has to perform. He still has to execute. He still needs to be in the right mindset. So I'm not saying coaching is the only thing that contributed to King's success, but there is a lot of value in it. Of course, King loses, and then, he kind of busters out in losers, goes emo. So one of the other things that, I've realized, and this is more of a credit to Armada and Hungrybox, is that they may lose, you can say what you want about them, but the reason why, they win events is because of their mindset and they don't beat themselves up. And I think that's an important skill to have to be a champion, and that's something King unfortunately doesn't have, and that's a big roadblock for him that he's going to have to learn. I don't think it's an excusable, John, in my opinion, although there are some mindset issues. It is something that everybody has to come over and conquer, and everybody has their own sort of mini demons in their lives that they have to deal with. So that is something, and with King, I think if he were to win an event right now, he would have to do it straight from winners because he doesn't really do well on season losers. He's usually the type of player that on enters winners and he loses shortly after in losers. That's just kind of been how Mutaking has functioned, over the years. You can't really cite a long losers bracket run from Mutaking. I can't really recall any. I could be wrong. What else is there? So speaking of coaching, the Prince of Vu factor I think is very real. And the reason why I say that is you look at the last 6 nationals that have featured Armada and Hungrybox, and Armada won the 4 events that coincidentally Prince of Vu was there. And the 2 events that Prince of Vu wasn't there, Battle of the 5 Gods and DreamHack, coincidentally Armada lost. I know that 6 tournaments still isn't like the large enough sample size here to like make those claims, but I think it's starting to tell trends. And the reason why I think it's helpful, looking beyond the data, is how helpful Prince of Vu is, and you get glimmers of understanding Prince of Vu's knowledge of the matchup. And what I mean by that is you see him on commentary, he clearly understands how the Fox Puff matchup works, and when he works with these players, and the reoccurring running gag of the weekend for people who weren't at the summit was, where's Prince of Vu? I got Hungrybox next in bracket. And so he kind of warmed up SFAT a little bit, he warmed up Mutaking a little bit. Granted, for those 2 it didn't quite work out as well as it could have, but there were a lot of little things that SFAT was especially SFAT was implementing in situations that I never seen him do before. And part of it was because Prince of Vu in conversation was telling certain things he could do. So for example, one I like to give is Hungrybox back airing a crouching Fox, and SFAT was punishing that, and that's something that's really important. It's similar to when you play against Link. If you don't know that you can crouch cancel down smash at low percentages, well, that's a really huge tool that you don't have access to because you just don't know the fact. And Prince of Vu was sharing a lot about not just little things that Fox can do, in character versus character, but also he was sharing here's what Hungrybox looks for, here are some of his habits, he's not going to fall for this anymore, you have to look for this. And it was actually really, really helpful advice. And imagine getting just specialized training to fight not only Puff, but Hungrybox for hours all weekend, actually. And so I think it's a huge boost to Armada. I think Armada acknowledges it, and that's why Armada saw the value of having a GoFundMe. And I think he's probably, as much as we love to exaggerate, he's one of the most important X factors of, how a bracket will pan out. And I'm not sure if Armada would have won this event had Prince of Vu not been there. And I'm being really honest right now. So aside from that, Armada, of course he wins. I think this was actually one of the most exciting sets of Armada Hungrybox, and part of it was that Armada wasn't as laser campy, and you can call certain actions campy, but I felt like it was full of suspense. You could clearly see in their neutral when Puff was kind of zoning in and Armada was zoning in that they were looking for things, and I think from a spectator standpoint, you could kind of tell what they were looking for. They were looking for a read, they were looking for an outmaneuver, and it was really exciting to actually watch. I was really anxious watching it overall, but I thought it was really stellar play from both of them. Although Hungrybox, did make some sloppy plays towards the end, but I thought Armada played magnificently. He's starting to play aggressive, and that's something that I wanted to see from him for a while. So kudos to him. Kudos to Hungrybox for, gritting it out. He did win that best of 5 set against Mango that went to a really clutch rest at the very end. So, there is a skill to come back from that. That was as much as, I love Mango, and I think that Mango played, pretty solidly. I think that was really amazing that Hungrybox found that rest, converted and comboed, and I think if we switched it around and if Mango were the Puff there and let's say Mutaking was the Fox, I think everybody would have gone nuts, but it's kind of the perception that we have as an audience. So those are the big 3. Mango, he played well in friendlies, didn't really pan out, especially against Armada. He lost to Hungrybox. You had to clutch against Plup, one of the best combos I've ever seen, overall. In the context, it was a game 5. If Mango doesn't get that, he loses. Plup had all the momentum, and he essentially snatched it. And so I have to give kudos to Mango for that. Although Mango did, express in an interview that he wants to change his style up. We've talked about it. I got to hang out with him most of yesterday, actually. It's interesting. He wants to add more gears to his arsenal, because what's happening for him is that the meta is adapting to Mango. Basically, they know that Mango's going in, so they just wave dash back and grab, and they punish him, and they're hitting him really hard, and Mango is realizing, hey, I gotta add, some other additional mix-ups instead of just going in at like 90 miles per hour. As for everybody else, you know, I'm not surprised that Mutaking beat Plup. I picked Mutaking to finish top 3, and I was right. Not in the way that I expected, though. I thought Mutaking was going to lose to Armada and then somehow beat Mango and somebody else in losers to make it into top 3. Who else is there? I thought, overall, like, there was a lot of practice done, and I could tell that everybody was getting better over the weekend. Even the non-gods and the non-top 10 members. I think everybody got a lot of value out of the training. I think even the buy-ins did. So I think Connor got a lot from, you know, being able to practice with people all weekend. I think Prince Abu leveled up a lot. I think I leveled up a lot. And I think an environment like that's actually really crazy because people were playing Smash, and granted, it wasn't like a really hardcore session, but like people were grinding, and you had access to whatever character you wanted. So I got to warm up Mutaking for 2 hours prior to playing Plup. I got to play Foxes that need to warm up with Sheik. I got to warm up Johnny before he played Plup, although I didn't really do a good job. But needless to say, you had a whole like arsenal of different characters that you could practice with, and I think everybody got a lot better from this weekend. So I think that overall, a lot of people are going to level up. I think that this will continue to excite people. I think a lot of people left the summit even more motivated to continue on. And I think for us, like, it's like a resting place too, despite the fact that it is a competition. We all love being there. It was a really refreshing experience where we could relax, and I think it's going to help everybody else who was there, who's kind of weary from the tournament grind of having to go to these large events and be sociable. So those are my thoughts on Smash Summit 2, the bracket. Let's see, did I forget anything? Kudos to Esan for taking a game. I guess I have to give him a shout out. Impressed. But that's pretty much it for this post Tafo Talk Smash Summit 2.